By the way, is there anything in this bill that we should say we don't like it, a lot of the stuff in here? I think it's 9% corona relief and the rest of 91% pork barrel stuff. But is there anything that's coming Mississippi way government-wise?
Yeah, the state of Mississippi is scheduled to receive a significant amount of money, literally billions of dollars, in this particular bill. Mm-hmm. My understanding is that it is much more flexible than the dollars that came in under the CARES Act. And so you'll see a lot of conversations around how that needs to be spent. Most of it is earmarked for specific projects and types of projects that the Democrat administration, the Biden administration, is interested in. Certainly,
any infrastructure in this one?
I think there's some opportunities for us to utilize flexible monies to invest in infrastructure.
And then they're talking about one that's twice that big or 3 times that big as far as infrastructure coming up a little bit later on.
It appears that the Democrats in Washington have forgotten that somebody eventually has to pay for all of this debt that they are putting us into. $1.9 trillion, Paul, is an enormous number after last year 5 different bills that spent almost $4.5 trillion in terms, on a bipartisan way, by the way, to get us through this terrible year of the coronavirus.
I need 2 hours for this interview. We only have a couple of 3 segments here, so let me push it as much as I possibly can. And first of all, let's talk about the vaccines. The first doses of Johnson & Johnson were distributed in some parts of the state yesterday, I believe, on the coast. They were putting out some Johnson & Johnson. Also yesterday, the people who are fully vaccinated against the new virus can gather privately in small groups without mask or physical distancing, said the CDC, but everything else stays about the same. Where are we in this state as far as the rules and regulations on COVID?
Well, we've removed most all of the restrictions in our state, and the reason that we have is because we've seen our cases plummeting. But more importantly than that, Paul, we've seen hospitalizations plummeting. At our peak, we had 1,450 Mississippians in hospital beds. This morning, we had 323. We had 360 Mississippians in ICU beds, which is really a major issue for us as it really stressed the system at that level. Today we have less than 100 patients in ICU beds. So we've seen significant drops, and that's allowed us to understand that protecting the integrity of our healthcare system is no longer at risk, and therefore the numbers no longer justify significant government intervention, in my view, and by the way, in the view of many people across our state, but across America. Not long after we started eliminating restrictions, even Democrat governors across the country late last week started doing the same. And the reason for that is because of the fact that the vaccination is a game changer. Over 750,000 shots in arms in Mississippi. Over 500,000 Mississippians have gotten at least their first dose. Over 250,000 Mississippians have gotten both doses. When you combine that fact with the notion that at least 300,000 Mississippians probably have antibodies because they have gotten the virus, the fact is that we can see the light at the end of the tunnel. Now, I want to be clear. If you're 70 years old and you have diabetes and you are overweight and you haven't been vaccinated, it's probably not a good idea for you to go into indoor arenas with a large number of people. However, if you're young and healthy and have been vaccinated, there's just not that much risk of transmission at this point.
Most of the places that we still go around, and if we happen to stop by some places, they still have the mask mandates out there.
Well, there's certainly private businesses that some of them have their signs left on the walls, but the fact is, Just because government doesn't tell you that you have to wear a mask doesn't mean that it's not a good idea, particularly if you're not vaccinated, to continue to wear a mask. And so I think each individual Mississippian can make their own decision what's in their best interest.
I think a lot of the businesses, too, are putting it this way. Just that when all of our people are inoculated and they got the vaccine, then we'll take that down. But as soon, because we got some people in the within the establishments, or whether it's a Walmart or Lowe's or wherever, maybe they haven't gotten the shot yet, so they're being protective of that, which I can certainly understand. You made some news, national news, of course, along with Texas.
The last thing we need is the Neanderthal thinking that in the meantime everything's fine, take off your mask, forget it.
You took offense at the president calling the people of the state of Mississippi, specifically you and the Texas governor, Neanderthals.
I was reminded when Biden called people in Middle America Neanderthals of when Hillary Clinton called us deplorables. The fact is, the National Democrat Party, this is what they think about people in Middle America, because they believe in a top-down, centrist government that should tell all of us what to do on a daily basis. Contrast that with myself and others. We believe that individual freedom is what drives America, and while there are times in which we have to make hard decisions, and certainly during the pandemic was one of those times, I think it's more important for our president to trust Americans than it is for him to insult Americans.
How is it going on with Tapper? Well, I think we had some clips from, what was it, night before last?
It was a couple of days ago. I believe it was Sunday morning. I thought...
Do they call you or your office? And
we were actually asked, Paul, to be on every morning show in America on Sunday morning because they thought that they could attack us and make us look bad, and because they don't agree with our decisions. But then they ask us in the middle of the week, and then other Republican governors in the middle of the week start reducing their restrictions not long after we did. Yep. And then Democrat governors in places like California and Connecticut started reducing their restrictions late in the week. And the reason is because the vaccine is a game changer for all of us. We're all seeing significantly less numbers. And the thing that I'm most proud about, Paul, is my ability to convey to the American people the fact that in Mississippi last week we did 29,000 vaccinations on Friday. The 7-day average in America was 2 million vaccines a day. We were 40% better than all of America last week in putting shots in arms. Yeah. And our number of cases, where it was 70,000 a day across America, ours was below 500. We were 40% below the average number of daily cases. So we're getting something right here, and I'm proud to be able to take that message to the nation.
When do you see the next relaxing of certainly the occupancy of, let's say, sporting events?
The current executive order, which basically only limits indoor arenas. If you're at an outdoor sporting event, there are no restrictions on how many people can be in the stadium.
When do you think, as far as indoors?
I think we're the current EO goes until the end of this month, and I think at that point we should have enough people vaccinated, and if the numbers stay where they are, I think we can further loosen those restrictions. Again, that's basically all we have left. We do know this, Paul. We do know that indoor transmission is more risky than outdoor transmission, and so we're continuing to monitor that. But that's basically the only restrictions that are left.
All right, let's switch over real quick to 1231. What is the very latest? What's your thoughts on this one? 1231, the Wildlife Fund passed in flowing. It had what was it? 2 people against it, as far as in the House is concerned, almost unanimous. It is in the Senate, and your thoughts?
Well, I certainly think we ought to spend additional resources on preservation. In fact, I helped raise money just recently for an organization that does just that. This is an issue that is being worked out between the House and the Senate, and I'm excited about the
All right, let's go over this thing. What do you not like about it, and what would it take for the governor to get this bill and sign it if it cleared the Senate? We're talking about 1231, the Wildlife Fund. And I was just mentioning that we are in 2020 was a record year. There's more money in this federal fund than ever before, and it's growing. And how do we get some of that as far as matching funds are concerned? $1 to $3.
Well, Paul, I don't know that I would go into any details as to what I do or do not like about the bill. I think there's a lot of good things in the bill, and the intent certainly is very positive. One of the things that we as a state must do is we have to focus on population growth. If we're going to see long-term GDP growth, we've got to grow our population. We've got to get people moving into our state. And one of the great advantages that we have in our state is quality of life. And that quality of life, in large part, is due to the mass resources that we have in land and wildlife and hunting and fishing, and this is a huge advantage that we have. And so any bill that is sent to me that recognizes that spends additional resources on our public lands, that makes it easier for individuals to enjoy that does wildlife preservation, I'm highly inclined to sign it.
Is the diversion the part that you don't like? That's as far as the House is concerned.
Well, I think that's certainly one of the issues between the House and the Senate right now is should it be a diversion? Should it be an annual appropriation? And again, when I was in the legislative branch for 8 years, I had very strong opinions on that. But at this point, that's something that the House and the Senate will have to work out, and I trust that they will. But this gives us an opportunity again to highlight one of the huge advantages that we have in Mississippi.
You see anything else as far as any other bill to help our park system out there, other than appropriation?
Well, it's going to take money, certainly, to continue to improve our state parks. That's something that, as we look back over the last 10 years, we did not spend enough resources in our public parks, and so I'm hopeful that we can find a way in which to do that.
You got a letter from the mayor of Jackson requesting money on the water system. Speak to that in a moment. What's going to happen there? They need a ungodly amount of money. They are slowly but surely bringing most of the water back, but I think the entire city is still under, I know we are here, a boil water notice. So speak to that.
Well, several points that need to be made here, Paul. Number one, the city of Jackson has certainly struggled after the winter storm with respect to its water system. I want to be clear with the people of Mississippi. I live in the city of Jackson. We were without water for 3 days. We had very low pressure for at least a week after that, and we're still under a boil water notice. So that's point number one. We have real problems, and my heart aches for the individuals in the city that are still struggling. That's the reason that I activated the Mississippi National Guard. We moved tankers from Camp Shelby into the city to provide non-potable water. We've provided almost 1 million bottles of water to the residents of the state of Mississippi, and we've got to continue to work to find ways to help the city do that. But I also want to point out, Paul, that this is not unique to the city of Jackson. There were 78 water systems in the state of Mississippi that had boil water notices during the month of February. And so the lack of investing in infrastructure, particularly those pipes under the ground, is a statewide issue. And in fact, it's an issue all around America. Obviously, we've got some places better than others, but we've got infrastructure issues, and we've got to continue to look for ways in which to fix that. The mayor did send me a letter asking for me to stroke him a $47 million check. The city council came up with a number about 100 and something million, and then I've seen on national news shows they've said they need a couple of $1 billion. One thing about running a municipal water system or running any governmental entity is you've got to get the blocking and tackling right. Before the city can properly run its water system, they've got to bill the people who owe for water. They've got to actually have a billing system in place that says, Paul, if we send water to your house, you owe $6 or $8 or $26 to pay for that water bill, and you got to pay it every single month. And that has not been happening in the city of Jackson.
Some people have been in the arrears for how long? Years, haven't they?
Years. And their solution to that problem is to give them the ability to waive what people owe. And the fact is, you can't. Those individuals that have received water for years and have not paid their bill, in many instances, not because of themselves, but because they haven't received a bill.
Yeah.
They've got to get that fixed.
But my question now is, how do you do that now when the client has suffered? It's very, very difficult to do it now more than ever.
Well, and I think that's a very good point, and it's something that we're going to have to get worked out, or the city's going to have to get it worked out. If they want state help, we're certainly willing to, just like we stepped up over the last 3 weeks and provided literally almost 1 million bottles of water and National Guard support. We're willing to help. We just got to figure out what the long-term solution is.
Personal income tax, were you ever did you ever come to the table with a member of the House or the Senate, any of the chairmen, and talk about this before it hit the floor?
We certainly have had conversations. The House leaders were not particularly forthcoming with what their plan was, and we all know that. But here's the good news, Paul. We have a bill out there that has the income tax code sections in it. We now have all the Republican leadership on record as thinking it is a good idea to eliminate the income tax. I have heard every one of them publicly say that they want to eliminate the income tax. Now we're talking about how we do it, and that's a huge move forward. And I am hopeful that we can get some movement on that. The fact is, it will lead to significant economic growth in our state. Don't forget, Paul, we began this process 5 years ago when we eliminated the 3% individual income tax bracket. Yeah. This is not something that started a week ago or 4 weeks ago or even 4 years ago. We're in year 5 of a long-term strategic plan to do this, and now it's just a matter of trying to get everybody on the same page, and that's hard. It's always been hard. It's hard in our state. It's hard in every other state, but I'm encouraged by the movement that has occurred, and so I'm hopeful that that movement will continue, and whether it's today or this week or this month or this year, we're going to make further movements to eliminate the income tax in our state. And the reason we are is because the people are for it. Republicans are for it. Most Democrats that are working people back home are for it, and most independents that are working people back home are for it. And at the end of the day, whether you're in the House or the Senate, when an overwhelming number of your constituents are for something, you tend to look for a way to get it done.
Do you think it could happen this session before we sine die instead of a study committee?
Look, I'm an optimist by nature, and so I certainly think that the bill is still alive. And even if a bill dies in the Mississippi legislature, you've heard the term that nothing is dead until it's dead. And so I'm an optimist. I'm hopeful, but certainly we've got more work to do, and convincing more of our friends that this is a great idea.
That said, the new numbers are in, and I'm sure you've seen them for February. And I was looking at these here. We are now over year-to-date fiscal overestimate, $500.3 million, over $500 million overestimate. The month overestimate, $54.0 million. So it's hard for people to argue that reducing taxes out there, and I'm not sure how much one-time monies are in here, but it's hard to string this many months together during a pandemic and not point to one of the catalysts for that positive upward movement being getting rid of some of these taxes.
I'm often asked, Paul, how do you eliminate the income tax and how do you make up that revenue? That's from those who like to spend other people's money. That is always the question. Point number one is government doesn't have anything it doesn't first take from somebody else. Point number two is we're almost $500 million above the sine die estimate this year.
Yep.
That $500 million, it can either be spent or it can be returned to the taxpayers. And so we can start eliminating further the income tax by the utilization of the significant additional revenues that we're currently collecting because our economy is booming. The third point I want to make, Paul, is the other way to cut income tax is reduce expenses. We have almost 10,000 fewer employees in state government since I began this journey years ago, and therefore it's a third less expenses occurring in our state.
Did you see the report from the economist at Ole Miss? $370 million GDP.
I saw it. I didn't get a chance to read it, but I did see it.
Final segment with the governor coming up next.
Thousands of Bulldog fans have subscribed to the Thunder and Lightning podcast. Have you? On each episode, Brian Haydad and Joel Coleman give you an inside look at your Mississippi State Bulldogs. The Thunder and Lightning podcast is free and available on demand at supertalk.fm and on your smartphone. Just search for Thunder and Lightning on iTunes, Google Play, or anywhere you listen to podcasts. Thunder and Lightning from SuperTalk, Mississippi, covering the Bulldogs like no one else.
My name is Randy. For the past several years, I've been working as an engineer with energy. The utility industry is changing every day, so I knew I needed to sharpen my skills and stay competitive. That's why I enrolled in the Executive MBA program at Millsap. Their schedule allows me to network and learn while still working full-time and raising a family. Thanks to Millsap and Energy, I'm prepared for whatever may come next.
For something new and unique in talk radio, take a listen to The Ben Shapiro Show. Every day, we're driving the debate in America with the fastest moving, hardest hitting, most comprehensive, fact-based commentary on the radio. We don't hold back. We never shy away from telling you the truth. Our show is a meeting place of ideas. We have the most important guests and the biggest thinkers in America.
Weeknights at 9.
For something new and unique in talk radio, take a listen to The Ben Shapiro Show.
On Super Talk, Mississippi.
Mississippi 811 is here for your safety. So we're asking you to call 2 working days before you dig, or use our Easy 811 app.
Whether you're a professional or a homeowner putting up a simple fence,
you can notify us and our member utility companies. We'll properly mark all their utilities.
This helps us save you from fines, penalties, injuries, or death.
Make our goal your goal with 0 damages and 0 injuries.
Call Mississippi 811 before you dig.
And let's have 0 damages, 0 injuries.
Farm Bureau Insurance is excited to introduce Drive Down, our new deductible rewards program. Drive Down lets customers save on their deductibles as a reward for driving safely and can help them become safer drivers in the process. Getting started is simple. Download the free mobile agent app and enroll in Drive Down. As a reward for signing up, you'll save an immediate 5% off your deductible after your first trip. Enroll in Drive Down today. With Drive Down and Farm Bureau Insurance, safe driving saves.
Whether you're a Rebel, a Bulldog, a Golden Eagle, or just a sports fan, Super Talk Mississippi has got a podcast for you. For you. Sports Talk Mississippi, the Rebel Report, Thunder and Lightning, the Super Talk Eagle Hour are all now available for you. And it's all free. Get them all on demand at supertalk.fm and on your smartphone. Just search for Super Talk on iTunes, Google Play, or anywhere you listen to podcasts. Get the scoop on what happened in college football and what to expect in the NFL. Each Sunday on Sports Sunday with Michael Borky. Get the story behind the stats, 8 to 10 a.m. on Super Talk Mississippi, supertalk.fm, and watch the show on supertalk.tv. Super Talk Mississippi. We're more than just words. This is where the story of your state is told. Proud to cover the Magnolia State like nobody else. Super Talk Mississippi.
A phone call is made. A business keeps running. A class is still in session. Even in times of uncertainty, it's C-Spire team members like you that make it happen. From curbside pickups and same-day deliveries to installing free Wi-Fi hotspots and ensuring our network is more reliable than ever, it's clear that you are truly customer-inspired. And thanks to your hard work, we all stay connected because you care.
Coming soon, you saw Oprah's interview with Meghan Markle and Prince Harry. Now it's Queen Elizabeth's turn.
So, Your Majesty, what do you say to Meghan's allegations?
Who are you? What is this?
It's Oprah's interview with Queen Elizabeth.
How do you feel about...
Huh?
Are you okay?
Are you my granddaughter?
Coming soon. Gallo, your foundation for a fully informed day. Now more with Paul Gallo on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Honey, they're bringing out a TV crew. They want to do a story about me and you. They'll be stringing up bright lights in
Tracy Bird, I'm ready for some entertainment here. Let's get back to the casinos. We're talking to Larry, Gregory, and they're ready to get the entertainment going to the casinos.
No question. The fact is, people are ready to get back to a more normal scenario. People are showing up at our casinos. Our gaming revenue, much like our revenue across the board, because our economy was never shut down, has actually done very well, held up well, and that's just shows that the people are traveling because individuals make whatever decision they want to make for themselves.
Speak one more time. Well, to speak to before we let you go, as far as the Medicaid, where are we with that, and where's the bill?
Well, the Medicaid tech bill, there's been a version passed by the House, a version passed by the Senate. They've swapped sides, and large bills such as this always end up getting negotiated at the very end. We'll get to conference weekend in a couple of weeks, and the final details will be ironed out.
Any possibility? There's nobody talking about expansion one way or the other. Either house.
I'm personally opposed to Medicaid expansion. Have been. I ran on it in 2019. The people overwhelmingly elected me, and I continue to believe we should not do that as a state.
There are several bills targeted or talking that pertain to the Department of Corrections, and I'm sure most people are following those. Any specific ones you want to mention? Because we had those problems last year, and it's going to take some money, and apparently the new commissioner is doing a pretty good job working with what he's got.
Yes, the new commissioner, Commissioner Burl Cain, is doing an excellent job. Certainly inherited a challenging situation, which is true in correction system around America. We know that. We've got a couple of initiatives in place. We are asking the legislature to help us increase the number of employees at the Department of Corrections through some additional resources, also the potential of opening up additional facilities so that we spread these inmates, the ones that are dangerous, out. And so we have a plan in place, and the legislature has been very willing to work with us on that, and we appreciate that. I had multiple conversations about it just yesterday in the Capitol building, and we're optimistic that we'll get to some resolution there to help get us in a better position.
Anything that doesn't happen you see may necessitate a special session?
I certainly hope not, Paul. It would not be my desire to call one. Only would do so if it was absolutely necessary. But understand that I typically come at the legislative session with the attitude that there are a lot of good bills out there. There are a lot of good ideas to make our state better. But I also recognize that Mississippi's been a state for 204 years now. If we made it for 204 years without any one bill becoming law, we probably can make it 9 more months when the legislature will be back in next year. And so, again, there's a lot of good things out there that I hope get done. And if we find ourselves in a position in which it necessitates a special session, I'll call it. I'll work with the leaders to do it, but I won't do it unless I have to.
One more. There's some rumblings in the House and or Senate at different times about MDOT, but that's always the case. What your thoughts on as far as the structure of MDOTs and any of the bills that may be still alive?
Well, there's Senator Branning, the chairman of transportation in the Mississippi Senate, passed legislation on deadline day a week or so ago that would do a number of different things with the structure. That bill is now over in the Mississippi House. I haven't seen exactly what they've done with that particular bill yet, but I think it's always a topic of conversation. There's a lot of frustration in the legislature with the Department of Transportation. and so we'll see exactly where that goes. We're sort of in that time, Paul, as you know, in the legislative session where there are a lot of unknowns. The House has put forth their priorities. The Senate has put forth their priorities. The bills have changed chambers and are over in the other chamber, and it's just a matter of the negotiating process to see what comes out and what doesn't.
Next deadline is tomorrow?
I think it's either Wednesday or Thursday. Yeah.
I'm not sure. I haven't checked the calendar.
It's appropriates and finance bills that originated in the other chamber, and I'm sure I should know this. I've been kind of on COVID duty and economic development duty, and so but it's in the next couple of days.
Your timeline responsibilities have changed a little bit. The gavel not in hand.
The gavel not in hand has definitely changed my job.
The vaccine statement here.
You have an opportunity to get a vaccine appointment, as always, on Tuesdays. The State Department of Health does a great job and loads new appointments. And so if you want one, there are some available, covidvaccine.umc.edu or 877-978-6453. If you're 50 and up, or if you're a teacher or a law enforcement officer or have a pre-existing condition, you are eligible. Please get a vaccine. It helps us get back to normal more